from the Congress.
School, US, and IIM Bangalore, and done his PhD on impact of climate events on agriculture ecology and food security. Apart from his books, he has given to the world 3 unique crossword platforms, Indian Crossword League and CCC, a national inter-school crossword world. With his rich experience and background, I would like to welcome Sir on the topic. A much exciting topic, the role and relevance of Jesuit Alumni Association in innovation, entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem. Yesterday we had the workshop with us. There are a lot of insights have come already. So probably Sir's session really enlightened us more in this topic and also get it grounded. Thank you. I once again welcome you, sir.
Secretary of the St. Xavier's Alumni Association, Shri Madam Angela, other members of the Jesuit Alumni Association, respected Mr. Yashwardhan Sinha, Father Peter, Father Principal St. Michael's, Mr. Shankar, Vivek, and all esteemed guests out there. Firstly, I am very honored to be part of this alumni get-together, and it is, I think, I have not come across this over the past so many years happening in Patna. So my compliments to the team from St. Xavier's and St. Michael's, who have actually pulled out a very, very nice show and a very useful for them. This topic, I had a PPT ready, but it would have appeared more like an industry department coach. So I'm just avoiding that, and I'll speak to my own experience as a development commissioner and also as the chairman of the Bihar Startup Fund, where we have initiated a lot of things for the promotion and upliftment of the upcoming startups. Now, before we understand anything, of course, I'll come to one point again, that my association with Jesuits has been very long. I was part of the school from the 4th to the 12th standard, and prior to this also I was with the missionaries at St. Joseph's Convent. So it is a very long relationship and a very lasting and enduring relationship that I have had, and a very, very fruitful one for me. Now, before we start on these startups, let us understand what exactly is a startup. Because nowadays we look for some good buzzwords. There was a time when you had entrepreneurship development as the buzzword, say during the 80s, the 70s. Then, of course, you had other things coming up. Now, this decade, the 10th decade has been called decade. This startup thing is something that everyone is talking about. Now, what exactly is a startup and how is it different from a normal entrepreneurship? So, there is a definition which the government of India has given for a startup. It is with regard to the turnover, with regard to the aid, with regard to the kind of technology that you use. So that is one technical thing that we talk about. But that is not our scenario. Why are we different? Why are we unique as far as startups in India is concerned? You see, startup is primarily a concept of the West, where you have able universities, competent universities with enough resources, able manpower, noble laureates as their faculty members, and a dedicated set of team and a very diligent set of students. So when you are doing a particular course, during the course you realize that what is the course of action I am taking. I go for entrepreneurship, I will not take a job. So then you start tinkering in your labs. You look for a mentor. You are an egg there who's incubating. You need to be accelerated. So all these terms, the mentor, the accelerator, the incubator, is basically from a system where you have a hatchery of startups, where the eggs are there, where they are doing everything so that the person, when he passes out, there is no transition time. In India, and particularly in Bihar, the system is not so. Let us admit that our higher education system that we have at the moment, it is not the most conducive for doing anything of this kind. Our universities don't have regular labs, forget the tinkering labs. Our faculty members are not as diligent. I mean, and it's an honest confession. It is not because he or she is not functioning, because the ecosystem, the higher education ecosystem, is not conducive for this kind of activity. So what happens in it? What happens is that you have a career profile and you do a course in an HTI, higher education institution, and you take up a course by a few institutions which have a brand of themselves, like the IITs, the IIMs, good medical colleges, good engineering colleges. The rest of the colleges that we have, they are basically what we call the GER-driven colleges. The gross enrollment ratio in India becomes a very paramount figure because the higher education figures are less. So you have universities, you have colleges spread over the hinterland of the country, where why does the student study? He doesn't study for entrepreneurship. He studies for a foothold in life. He studies because he wants to earn in whatever manner, and he is not very sure. And our career counseling mechanism is also not very robust there as to how to go about it. So this is the scenario that the student that you have in the HTI, who is the right case for a starter, is not very sure as to what course he will take. The first thing he does is, normally his degree will not fetch him a job. So what he does, he applies for various competitions. So the person, I mean, you see the career trajectory of a student in a higher education institution of India. He is there, one, for degree. I mean, I'm talking the bulk of them. I'm not talking of the IITs, I'm not talking the IITs, IIMs and AIMs of the country. I'm talking of a general PG class or a graduation class. And I have Professor Sankar who will bail me out if I am wrong at any point of time. I have great respect for him. And there are teachers like him who are still running teachers. With that applause, with that point. But that is more of an exception. So, what happens? You take a course, you do your degree, you have nothing much to do in class. So, as a consequence, you are going to some other pattern institution called the coaching institute. You want to aspire for BPSC, UPSC, any time, anything, so that you get your placement. You don't get it. Then what do? You are educated enough, you are going there. So, at the end of the day, you are in a loss as to what to do. So then you start thinking of an enterprise. You may join an NGO, you may join a private sector, but you think that why work for somebody else? Our startup is not an organic startup from the university. It is a startup which has come back on a rebound. So ours is not a case of a hatchery where you need to incubate, where you need somebody to accelerate, where you need somebody to maintain. Ours is more of a retrofitting enterprise. That the enterprise, the person is there, he has the structure, he has everything. You have to make it retrofit so that it is earthquake proof, so that it can actually withstand the pressure and the rigors of an enterprise. So you have startup policy, as we have in Bihar. We are looking for young people who have ideas, who have skills, who have the technical know-how, but somehow or the other they have not actually reached the stage where they could convert their idea, their skill, their knowledge to a profitable enterprise. So our startup is designed for them, and they require hand-holding as a retrofitting measure, not incubation as would be required naturally. You have the one-day chicks which are there, they have to be nourished. It is not a hatchery where the chicks have to be hatched. So this is a very fine distinction that you have in the concept of a startup in the West and the startup in a place like Bihar. You have to have people who will tell you as to how to go about it. We just launched a big co-working space called the B-Hub in the Gorillo. The CM inaugurated it on the 8th of this month. So what do you have there? You have around 183 startups who had ideas and who were screened by the state government. Firstly, you gave the idea, you gave a write-up, then the write-up was evaluated, and then you were called for a discussion. When your idea, your skill, your enthusiasm, everything was taken care of, you were given the startup, first tranche of startup. The state government gives you 10 lakhs. 4 when you start, 6 when you continue. And when you get support from, say, angel investors, you get a matching grant. So the fund is not a constraint. The constraint is the element of enterprise and the confidence of the new entrepreneur who is called to start. When we discussed, we had a profile, as I just mentioned. A profile is basically 30 plus people who have left the universities at least 5 years back, and the most successful, we have an enterprise in Sabdu, we have an enterprise in Agri-Tech, we have an enterprise, I mean all the boys and girls who are doing well, but they are not pass-outs. They have gone to the field, they have tested as to what they can do, they have actually gone into the details and the nitty-gritties of the ecosystem, the enterprise ecosystem, and then they have come back for this help from the government, because what does a co-working space give? It gives you a support from an organization like CIM, the Chandragupta Institute of Management. Now, if you have people from the management there, and if you have an issue every now and then, there is somebody to handhold you. Then you also have a set of consultants who actually work with you and find out as to what your major problems are. So this is the co-working space that we have created, and we have said that incubators are fine. We come to a stage when the incubators and the accelerators and the mentors also would be required. They're also part of the system. But what is more required is giving them a space, an environment where their enterprise can actually get started. So that is stage number 1. So once you come to the co-working space, what is the problem that you face? I was going through a book on startup and also experience with these young boys and girls. One is, most of them, they have a challenge with accounting. If I start a startup, then I really can't hire a person who will charge me 20,000 rupees per month and do my tally accounting for me. While I'm not sure of my own income, I cannot gamble with that. The second challenge that they face is the technology. Technology for us is not readily available. The presumption of a startup is that the person, the promoter himself is very well versed and conversant with the tech and what he's doing. Because most of the startups, most of the unicorns you see, they are basically tech startups. Good idea, good technology, good marketing skills, good volume creation, and then you are a unicorn. In fact, I was in Bangalore the other day, and they have a brilliant speed over there, where, I mean, most of the startups, they are unicorns, because they have developed it on their own. But it cannot happen overnight. And therefore, you have to see as to what are the teething problems that you have. The first is accounting, which every startup faces. Second is technology. And the third, which is very important, which not many people realize, is the HR. Where do you get the right people from? Either they are unemployed people who are readily available off the shelf in the market, who may not be good for your purpose, or there would be guys who are proficient but very exorbitantly charged. So HR is the third challenge. There are 3 main challenges of our modern startup today. One is the accounting, the second is the technology, the third is the HR. So how do you handle it? And you don't expect every HR to get the best of the guy. He's, working on his own enterprise where the challenges of the enterprise are far too many. So this co-working space idea, we actually started. I mean, there are other states. You have the T-Hub in Telangana, which is doing well, and which is also a pioneer. But they have the advantage of the Cyberabad and the Hyderabad legacy. We don't have that advantage. So our technology has to come either from within the startup, or somebody should help me out. So I've asked my principal secretary industry that you must have hand-holding mechanism from these three sectors. Let not the poor fellow spend 20,000 on an accounts guy, 40,000 on a tech guy, and keep on looking for the right HR guy who will never come to him because he is not an assured entity as it is. Everyone wants a big brand, and you want to join a Google, you want to join a Microsoft, but if it's a company called Alpha Beta Gamma company of Kochi, nobody will join. And then you go for a low category person and you don't prosper and you don't do well. So these three challenges we will take up in our co-working space, and the facilities are there. So this is the context of our startup in Bihar, and this is what we are talking about. Now coming to the basic question, where do Jesuits and the alumni fit into this situation? Where are they? I mean, why should we talk all these things? You go and talk this before your 180 entrepreneurs in the co-working space. So why are we talking about this here? So let me come back to that. One, the Jesuits, and we are very proud and honored to say that they have brought education to the country, to every nook and corner of the country. So you are in a position to nurture the boys and girls from the very outset. Because when they come, because let us presume that all of them will not go to the premium institutions and therefore they'll have to fend for themselves. So what does the school do? I was talking to the principal and I was very happy to know you have multiple activity clubs. You have given exposure to your students, and my girls does it. In fact, in our time also, we had these clubs which sat on a Friday afternoon. The last sessions I was part of the GK club, and it has actually helped me in life. I always say that, as a matter of fact, not many people would know that in the IAS and the Indian Forest Service and also the NDA. At least for the GK part, I was the highest marks getter in my course. And much of it is because of the strong teams that we have. When we participated in the quiz time in Delhi, all Delhi University College had at least one person from subject matters. So that is your legacy, that is your heritage. So you start young. Teach them young, catch them young. So the Jesuit, the first thing you do is, you have been into conventional sectors, where these extracurriculars, the aero modeling club, the science club, the GK club, and so many clubs, debating societies there. Now you must go into making them market ready. Market readiness is something that we have to think about. The three things that I talked about. I mean, technology, all of us, we are good at doing our mobile and other things. But how do we use the AI? You are talking of a future generation. You have a ChatGPT coming, you have a BART coming. Now, how do you scare these guys so that they don't do it on their own? There is some institutional mechanism just to tell them as to what it is and how best to use it. Because many people who want to be writers now may not be required. No, the content writers may lose the entire sheet because the AI will do everything for them. So you have to counsel them. You have to tell them that this is how the technology is moving. This is the area, this is the frontier where you have to take a couple of steps. Because if you move in the right direction, if you understand, like I don't understand ChatGPT as to how they do it. But the student should know. If you pass out from, because in our education system, fortunately or unfortunately, after 9th, nobody is willing to listen to anything on extracurriculars, anything which is beyond the point, because their target is JAAI, NET, and marks, CBSE, ICS. The parents, the students, the society, they judge you by that. So don't think that you'll be in a position to do anything beyond 9 of this kind. But prior to 9, I'm talking of crosswords also. Why should a student of St. Michael's be crossword illiterate? When you develop your vocabulary, when you develop your communication skills, when you develop your lateral thinking abilities, when you develop your critical analysis ability, when you take up your, you enhance your challenge taking ability, still you don't do it because nobody is done it. The teachers won't know, so therefore students should know, don't know. Why should a student of a premier institution, of a good school, be deficient in anything? I was in Patna Women's College yesterday. I said, every student should be a know-all. I mean, that is the advantage I have had out of studying out there. That I could play football, I could play cricket, I could participate in a quiz, I could speak a bit, so I could write a bit. So every aspect of your personality, you couldn't say after coming out from a good institution, a good Jesuit institution, that sorry, this is something that I don't know. That nobody will do. You have to be a complete, well-rounded individual, which even the new education policy is talking about. And well-rounded means that there is no question of a no on your soft skills and your hard skills. Hard skills, the system pushes you. Soft skills, you have to push yourself, or the institution, or the family pushes you. So the soft skill again is something that you have to develop. While education is all about soft skills, but you see, we are in the state government. I am also the head of the Bihar Skill Development Mission, and we run a program called Kushal Yuva Program. Now, what is Kushal Yuva Program? His +2, till his college. We just forgot that this guy needed some soft skills in life. He needed to communicate. He needed to work on computers. So again, we are retrofitting them. We say that we'll give you some stipend, please come. We'll make you market ready because the poor Bihar fellows, they are good at math, they are good at everything, but when it comes to soft skills, they are not up to it, and therefore, they are not getting the right market. So then you suddenly realize, boss, this is something which must be done. And therefore, you start a program, which is a massive program, where you start training these guys. More winter pass we'll give them a stipend per month. We'll have the skilling centers because in India, which is basically deprived for anything of this kind, all skilling centers run by government, all incubation centers run by government are our programs. You'll find every block of Bihar will have a skilling center coming up just because you have a scheme for skilling. Tomorrow, if I have a scheme for incubation, you will have incubation centers in Shri and Singh. So the idea is that these soft skills is again something that only the institution, a Jesuit institution that I'm talking about, can think. And the alumni should actually, that is my personal feeling, should be more engaging with the students and tell them as to what the future lies, because the alumni is rich in resources. We have somebody from the senior person from the Indian Foreign Service here. You can come and tell them as to what diplomacy is all about. One capsule, the alumni can from time to time get the best of the alumni so that you are able to connect easily. So you are able to understand as to what the mindset of the student would be from St. Michael's or St. Xavier's and what he needs to be told. What is the area which he may not be aware because of the existing system and others, for which there is no other reason to know or no other way to know. So alumni should engage, especially for the soft skills. Be it tech, be it accounting also. Accounting is one thing. Father is sitting here. Accounting, I tell you, tally and other things are very simple things. But if you don't know, if you don't understand, because in our scheme of things, commerce is like something, you don't do it. At the time you do business, you don't know anything about commerce. It is only PCM and PCB which matters. So this basic knowledge of technology, basic knowledge of accounting, basic knowledge of the industrial ecosystem as to how HR is procured, how things are marketed. These things that you must learn at a very early stage. You must at least know, so that you know as to what to look for, where to study further when you want to do something ahead. So that is one point where you can actually, as Jesuits and as alumni, help in building the entrepreneurship culture, the innovation culture. Innovation culture we always talk about. But where is the scope for innovation? In fact, I was sitting with my batchmate as secretary of the DIPP, which deals with the industries of all kinds. and he's handling the PM Gati Shakti. So he was talking of a professor, Professor Jhunjhunwala in IIT Madras. Now he's got a tech system which is so useful for the startups. You have a T-Works in Telangana, which is something for us to visit and see as to what they are doing. So they are creating prototypes. I mean, a school or a small institution cannot think of a mechanical prototype because it is so costly. But we can tie up big institutions. So this is a stage up. For schools, I would say soft skills, that is good communication skills, and missionaries with due respect. I mean, I would say one thing which I think we must also think. We always favor the stars. Like if I was in the quiz team, I was only fit for quizzing or good for quizzing. If there was a batchmate who was good at debating, he was pushed for debating. If there was somebody who was good at creative writing, he was pushed. So while it is good that the excellence of the school and the college outside is seen by performance of a few select people, it is the last quintile, last 20% which matters. Whether they have been given opportunity to speak on stage, whether they have been encouraged to write, whether they have been encouraged to do something of their own liking and volition. So this is something which the schools and the colleges must think of. While getting, excellence awards in fields where you have some very talented people is very easy. The challenge is the last quintile, whether we have made him a complete rounded individual or not. Again, we are talking of the one-act play festival, which we used to have in Patna. We were part of the quiz team and we were winners in the East Zone. We had 80 colleges in JAAI Milan. I was part of the team. So we were strong team, but the fact remains that I could never get a chance to speak on the stage. So when I got the service also, there was a time when I used to have the stage fright. There was Ms. McDonald who once encouraged me for my write-up on the International Year of the Woman. And she read it out in the class. I still remember. These small little things, they actually have such a great impact. I mean, coming back to Ms. McDonald, I took geography and UPSC and I proudly proclaimed from all quarters, it was the way she taught. That's why my subject was physics, but I took geography because of the kind of interest the school had generated. So what you can do as Jesuit institutions at a early age, you can never, realize, because the students would pass out, they would get some achievement in life and they'll move on, they'll never give you credit, but the credit lies there. But then you have to update yourself. You have to see as to what the demand of the market is. Whether my students are conversant coming back to ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? How many of them know about it? How will they impact their career? Does career counseling today need a reorientation given the kind of technology that we have? What are these areas where you can have a better outcome? What is the kind of tayari he does for his +2 also? Not that it is not important. So, startup is startup at a very early age. Startup is what is there in your mind, the confidence, the entrepreneurship, your exposure is what ultimately leads you to a stage where you can do well. And of course, at the college level, the peer group advantage that you have, the mentor advantage that you have, the accelerator and the incubator advantage that you have. But that advantage is only limited to a very few pockets of the country. India is a huge country, so we cannot generalize the ideas of the West and say that our universities would be in a position, all of them would be in a position to have this kind of a session. So, this to me is what startup is all about. Startup is in your mind, it is in your confidence, and your knowledge of technology, your knowledge, everything is based on the amount of confidence that you have. One thing I always tell my friends that it is the swag in the person which actually is the I card of that person. While it may be a negative word, but you find most of them, when they come from the Sarkari schools, they don't have the swag. Why? Because somebody has not given them confidence that you can also speak English, it is not something out of the world. That you have Your knowledge, you can, spill it out. So while they would be very good, they excel in the competitions, when they come in a group, they'll be sitting in a corner, chatting among themselves and talking about the guy who's sitting out there. So this is again an element of personality which we need to develop. So startup, I think this should be starting up early. The earlier the better. Continue it in the college, and you take the help of persons like Shankar Dutt and all who know the university system so well. And once you do it, then we are the Sarkar, we are the state government, we have anything under the sun. Since I am heading the policy also, if you think that something ought to be done, you just let us know. We are experimenting, we are actually tinkering. The Bihar, the co-working space that we have, is a tinkering lab for us. We are just learning as to what all things we can do. And the best part of you must visit that place. You have one entity, organization. So one of them is also doing the catering bit. They are running the canteen. Now some successful profiles, they'll guide you. So it is like a school of sorts. We have another one coming up in the Bihar State Financial Corporation building, and one also in the Udyog. So these are basically the nurseries of the startups. So we need nurseries where the saplings are already there. We don't need incubators. Incubators, fine, IIT Madras can have an incubator. IIT Delhi and IIM Ahmedabad, they can have incubators. But not my college in Jammu. The person who is passing out from there also needs that support for his startup. You don't write him off. And therefore, since Jesuits are there everywhere, as part of your education enterprise, I was BDC at Gumla, the most remote places, if you're going by, and suddenly you found a big building, it was either a missionary hospital or a missionary school. So we have that outreach. You can actually do it. That time also we were training the ladies in the paramedics, in other things. So you have the background of guiding, teaching and training people across the country, across the globe. You must use it. And the alumni, we must give back to our institutions. We must give back to our institutions, our schools, our colleges, and see to it that whatever we have gained, at least part of it is passed on to the next generation, so they are able to cope up with the modern challenges in a much better fashion than we have done. Because the challenges before us were not as great. The challenges are increasing day by day. The pressure on the parents, the pressure on the teachers, the pressure on the principal, everything is increasing. We were discussing that nowadays, if you got a good slap or good cane, you took it and you just remained silent about it. You only wanted your parents not to know about it. Today, if a teacher shouts, or if his body language is also not good, you complain to your mother and she'll come next day and tell you what the hell is your class doing now. So times have changed. And in the changing times, we have to adapt, we have to rediscover ourselves. So this is the background. I had a PPT, as I'm telling. We have schemes, but the schemes are what we make. The schemes and laws are what we make. It can only improve. It cannot be something to be shown off or bragged about. It is good. It is working well. We have around, 183 there, maybe around 400 startups, but that is not the thing. We are a population of a huge number. We are, reaching around 30 to 14 crores now. And that's the number. India is 140 crores. So that number is huge, and if we want startups, then everyone wants to be a unicorn. There's nothing in between. You only see that you can become Paytm, you can become Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber, God knows what. Start well, be on a firm footing, and don't be a fly-by-night operator. In fact, there was a time when if we had a startup in our generation, they'll say he's a fly-by-night. He's got an idea, he'll make money and he'll run away and sell it to somebody else. Today that is fashionable. That Vijay Sharma has sold it to him, he has sold it to him. So, that respect is still there. You're not a fly-by-night operator. You didn't end up with the system, you got money out of your idea and then you have rushed out. So, times have changed, we have to change, but the role of the Jesuits, both the teachers, the principals and the alumni, remains the same, that your students must be exposed well, they must be groomed well to face the challenges of life. Startup is only one of them. Thank you very much.
Just mention few important aspects. One is from the perspective of understanding the startup ecosystem and the basic concept related things, and he has put up with us 3 challenges in the startup ecosystem. One is accounting, technology and HR are the major challenges that he has finally put up. And also he has mentioned that our Jesuit institution is supposed to nurture the culture of entrepreneurship in our institution, as our India is facing a lot of difficulties and there's a dearth of startup ecosystem has to be promoted. Finally, he has also concluded that our Jesuit institution should become the startup ecosystem builders. How do we build the startup ecosystem in our academic institutions? Because of our reach of more than 300 plus institutions across India. For a want of time, I would like to take up few questions from the audience. I request you can raise your hand and Kumar, we can take 3 to 4 questions. Thank you.
Organization of India. So now I'm going to hand over to the next person. So we have already started vertical in our Jesuit organization in India about startup. So I had a tie-up with Mr. Nagarajan from IHUB of Gujarat. So now you are in charge of the incubation in Bihar. Probably we could link up this contacts for this thing. And I'm also basically chartered on, you said about one of the challenges is accounting. So we also formed a CA forum, JAAI CA forum of Jesuit alumni who are chartered accountants. So probably we can volunteer to help these kind of startups on a pro bono basis on your advice, and we could be a good Samaritan for this institution. And we also propose to have a sort of a list of mentorship, so that many of our Jesuit alumni are very excellent businessmen and entrepreneurs. So that tool also probably we can offer, and we can. And the chairman of the technical committee, Mr. Anthony himself is a great. He's from Madras School of Social Work. He heads the incubation social entrepreneurs incubation center in Chennai. So definitely we can play a greater role networking throughout India, and we also have world building. So they also have in their agenda for social entrepreneurship. So with your support and this, we can extend throughout the India as well as throughout the world on a pro bono basis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We have the Bihar Industry Association, the Confederation of Indian Industry, the Bihar Chamber of Commerce. So there are already organizations and people who are involved for both guiding and holding, incubating, mentoring. Now your association, I'm sure, would be very keen, and you have done it elsewhere. So what we do is, if you have a person in Patna, I can put him across to the director industry who is actually dealing with it. And then you can actually work out a real-time mechanism, not a vertical mechanism as to what ought to be, but what it would be. So that we can work.
What are the skills you are developing in these skill centers? Maybe people like us who are entrepreneurs and who run large organizations, I do not know in which area you are skilling them. If I can hear something more on that.
Skill development mission, and we have skilling centers spread across all the 34 blocks that we have. And the skilling activity ranges from computer studies to specific training programs. So there's a plethora of schemes that we have, and these skilling centers are already working. And it is not that we have closed taking up new skilling centers, but we are looking for ideas which can do well. So what we have done, we have the polytechnics, state polytechnics. So we have tied up with IIT Patna, and now they are skilling our guys. I mean, they are having a small certificate course in our whole hub and spoke model. We have one polytechnic dealing and handling around 5. So there we have things like the robotics, things like AI, things like electric vehicles. the frontier areas that we are trying to, where the placement we feel would be on the higher side.
अच्छा बोला कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जो है बाय चॉइस होना चाहिए। ये नहीं कि बच्चे अगर इंजीनियरिंग में नहीं गए, मेडिकल में नहीं गए, तब वो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में जाने के लिए वो सोचते हैं। बॉम्बे में मैंने एक जगह देखा था जिसको किड्सेनिया करके वो लोग बोलते हैं। उसमें लगभग 150 से 200 छोटे-छोटे वर्क स्टेशन उन लोगों ने बनाए थे और बच्चे वहाँ जाके एक्ट करते हैं। जैसे डब्बा वाला कैसे काम करता है, फिर फायर वाला कैसे काम करता है। तो हमको लगता है कि उस तरह का एक्सपोजर बिहार में एक जरूर होना चाहिए ताकि बच्चे पहले से ही इस बात को समझ सकें कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप या कोई एक प्रोफेशन अगर हम चुनना चाहते हैं तो उसका एक डिटेल पिक्चर उनके माइंडसेट में। थैंक यू सर।
ये बहुत अच्छा आइडिया। मैं बच्चों के साथ गया था एंड वो आप बैठा देंगे, फायर टेंडर पे आपको वो कराएंगे, पेपर फ्राई का आपको लेकर के वो कराएंगे, तो पूरा वो ड्रिल कराते हैं। आपका कोई फोटोग्राफी का फॉर्म है तो दैट इज अ ब्रिलियंट आइडिया। वी ट्राई, हम लोग देखेंगे किस तरह का कम से कम सिमुलेशन वाला कोई सेंटर हो जाए जिससे कि बच्चा या यंग आदमी देख ले कि होता क्या है। वेरी गुड आइडिया।
Of the schemes you have and what are the programs you run. Since it was a very short time, we couldn't mention on all of those. Can you kindly share that PPT with us?
Yeah, surely I will do that. I have made some, give it to anyone who desires. So that it will give you an idea as to how a startup can avail of the facilities which is being given by the state government and how best you can move up and what practices you can do.
No need of mic, still for their second. One last question to you. Which makes you most happy? The fact that you are a Jesuit alumnus or that you are part of Indian Administrative Service?
Well, both. I will say both, and for learning and the IAS for what he had given to do. Both ways they are strong.
Thanks for all the clarifications. Now it's the time to felicitate. I request Mr. Kumar.